Hi, it's me again with CorelDraw Tips and Tricks, and somebody sent me this DXF file that they want a plasma cut out, but if you look just in the outer side, there's 261 nodes. Now, one thing just looking at this thing, it's symmetrical with the exception of the center VW, this crack in the head and that crack in the head that I think is a Nike mark. This thing is, let's see how big it is. 28 inches, let's make our nudge factor on 30. And let's move this out of the way. We're gonna move everything out of the way that's not symmetrical or not even on both sides, not the same. We'll take the VW. Sometimes it would have been better to move the whole skull, but everything else is good, but it's not. For plasma cutting goes from node to node to node. And if you look, there are 261 nodes. If we select them all, I'm going to type in the number 20. I don't know if that's a percentage or what, but we went to 53 nodes. A couple of things before we do anything else, and we don't have to be doing this, but I'd get that edge away from that a little bit. A plasma cutter would get really hot, and but the way we're going to fix it, let's back up to give it all those nodes. Okay. We're going to group it together for a second, Control G, and hit P and put it in the center of the page, which it already was. Take a 2-point line, start moving, and hold down the control button so it's perpendicular, and then hit P. It doesn't matter what size we clean up because it's pretty much the same, so we're just going to take our virtual segment delete key and delete that side and then delete our line. Saved us a lot of work and it's going to be more symmetrical. Now, for some reason, we have to take it and ungroup it, but then take the shape tool, and we're working on the blue nodes first because they're highlighted, and we're going to type in 20. We got rid of all those nodes. Now we can start working on the individual nodes, and we're going to highlight all those, even though I don't like. So one thing you can do is hold down the Alt key and lasso that. We missed one. Or you could do this. You could take that item and move it over, and then you won't interfere with the other ones. A lot of times it doesn't really matter. But select them, 39 nodes, 20 down to 8. That's pretty good. Let's see if we can't delete some more without really changing too much. Didn't really change anything. Didn't change anything. In plasma cutting, you want to try to stay away from hard corners. Some of them can't be avoided. You know, this might be a little bit too hard, but that looks good. Now we have it and nudge it right back. Let's do the eye. That's one way we could get away from that, is by selecting that item and then select the shape tool. I wasn't thinking earlier. Type in 20. You got rid of those nodes. From a distance, Corel's going to show you that there's a node almost on top of another node. So sometimes it doesn't hurt to look from that. But just delete that node. It doesn't do us any good. Delete these nodes. Didn't really change anything. Didn't really change anything. Didn't change anything. Here again, sharp corners. Plasma cutter will cut it. And this is personal preference. But I like to select them both, turn them into a curve, and then you could select the center of that item and kind of curve that out. And then even take your handles and make it a little bit better of a curve. It's just personal preference. Now, we've already done the outside, the circle. Let's take a ellipse tool, get in about the middle of that circle and hold down the shift key and the control button and make it, it's a perfect circle. So if you look at this one, move it, well, I moved the wrong one. If you click on that one, grab the shape tool, 16 nodes, hit delete. And 16 nodes compared to 1. This is really easy to reduplicate. And what I'm going to do first, I'm going to bring in some indexing lines and kind of put it where our star is, or where that half of a circle is, because I want it pretty close to where it was. When I redraw it, this wouldn't be worth fixing, or in my opinion. Let's take that line and move it out just a little bit. Whoop. Whenever you move something, just inadvertently, just move it back. Now, that's pretty good. This thing is 9 inches tall. Let's take an ellipse, make it 9 inches. Control D and make a duplicate. Hold down the shift key and grow from the inside about the thickness that you want. Take a rectangle, make it about the gap. Then just move this over and it should snap to the center. We don't have to do anything but take the Smart Fill tool and fill that in. Move the Smart Fill out of the way. Delete all this. We don't need it anymore. Left click, right click, but make sure it's a hairline. And I'm drawing on somebody else's file that's it's CMYK. If you draw everything in RGB, I think you'd be better off even in plasma cutting. So now we have that shape. We've got our indexing line, so we can put it right where it was, or virtually pretty close. It snapped to. The other parts, not really worth fixing. You know, let's see how many nodes there are. You know, there's 45 nodes. So let's take one of them, the best one away, or the best one, keep the best one, delete, delete. And you could redraw this, but for the video, we're just going to take it and select them, and 40 nodes versus 6. Let's delete that node there. Let's delete that node there. Let's delete that node there. That looks pretty good. Then just Control D and make a duplicate and move it uphill a little bit. Control D and make a duplicate. Need to probably bring that down a little bit. And you could spend some time to make this even. Now here's what's so cool. Group this together, Control G, Control D and duplicate it. While holding down the control button, take that two-way handle and put it right there. Now you could get rid of these nodes a couple of different ways, but if you'll take the Smart Fill tool right now and fill that in and move it over, and then left click, right click, and I should have changed my everything to a hairline in RGB to start with. Now we can take away all of this. Well, I got the freehand pick tool somehow. Just take that and hit delete. Move this back. Still got our nudge factor. Move it back. We're exactly where we were. Now all we have to do is clean up these two. 80 nodes versus 11. And you could probably get rid of these two and make it 10, 8, 7. You know, just keep deleting. Make this a little bit rounder shape for the plasma cutting. We don't probably need that node. Might not need that node. You know, just look at it. Nudge that back over your drawing. Same thing on here. Select it all. 20. I've just found it's a magical number. Plasma cutting, that's a no-no right here. Grab that and move it up. Take your handles, move them around. Give it a little bit of a roundness. This is pretty sharp for a plasma cutter. Just give it a little bit of shape. And if now that's personal preference. The VW, you could look at it two ways, but it'd be so easy just to clean it up. It'd be easy to redraw. 20%. 20%. Let me look. 45 nodes versus 10. And that would be the minimum that you could have, because you've got to have that. You've got to be able to tell it what to do. Let me look at this. We took something that had 9 nodes, and we're going to take it down to 3, I think. Get rid of that one. Whoop. I had them all selected. I mean, look, there's 3 nodes, 2 nodes. We're down to 2 nodes. You'll take away this one. Then we're done. Just nudge that back, and it's complete. Let's look at it as a fill. Take your Smart Fill tool, fill it in with black, just to see what it's going to look like. There's what's going to be cut out of the metal. All the white's going to fall out, all the others not. And one other thing I wish I would have done is the sharpness of that item right there. I would maybe, give it a little bit of roundness. And this is something, it doesn't have to be perfect, so you could do it after you've looked at it. Anyway, I hope that helped him a little bit. Thank you for watching.